It's time for news. Meanwhile, in the animal kingdom, there's a volcano and there are some dogs and there are drones, and there's no way that you can combine that is not simultaneously terrifying and scary and also kind of exciting. So we're gonna play you some B-roll. Can I talk over this? I can talk over this, right? Let's play this B-roll. And what you're gonna see is dogs this is from about a week ago. They have been stranded on this island off the coast of Spain, trapped next to a volcano that is erupting. They've been there for weeks. Drones have been sending them, dropping food for them, because people are trying to figure out how do you rescue them. They might think send a helicopter, but they can't. Apparently there are regulations. The hot gas could damage the rotors and the helicopters could actually crash. So here's what they're planning on doing. They're planning on taking a big old drone and sending it there. A 50-kilogram drone operator Aero Camaras is considering this. It's gonna have a big net and it's gonna try to trap the dogs one at a time and fly them to safety. But to do that, they not only have to get the dog, they have to go 450 meters of lava across. Like, this is a long stretch where if it fails, if the drone crashes, if the dog drops, it is literally going to fall into lava. I sort of joked in our meeting this morning that this is the highest stakes game of crane ever. This is terrifying, JR. I know it doesn't affect you in any way because they're dogs, but I would not want to be the person flying that drone.
Well, actually, that's what I was just thinking. I said the best part about this is being the person to do it. Because, okay, look at this. This is a win-win, bro. If I save the dog with my drone and I'm the best crane manager ever, everybody praises me.
That's true.
If I mess up and I drop the dog, or whatever reason, the hot lava gases melt my drone motors and then it drops. Hey, I tried. When does a hero and when does a good Samaritan get lambasted for trying? Hey man, I tried. That means I did care about the dogs. The downside is not caring about these dogs, not doing anything about it. Because guess what? If we do nothing, they're gonna die slow, painful, starving deaths.
Oh, they are.
Whatever it is, it's gonna be way worse. Either we drop them in, trying to get them out and get it over with.
I know it has to happen. I'm just terrified for what's gonna happen. And by the way, if you want to see heroes being lambasted for trying and failing, watch the show The Boys. Everybody needs to watch The Boys. Anyway, yeah, no, it's terrifying. People in the chat are like, "Don't let them become hot dogs." No, don't. How
did they get there? How did the dogs get there? Who did this? Who's responsible for this?
I think the area was abandoned and the dogs were left behind. I think, like feral dogs will stay in areas where humans no longer live. People are saying the floor is actually lava. Someone said Squid Game. This is just too. I'm too terrified. I'm really worried about these dogs. Please send your best drone operator.
I'm not the bad guy.
The lava's the bad guy. Okay. Meanwhile, still in the animal kingdom, zebras are on the loose, but there's a plan, okay? It's a different plan from the lava plan, but it's a plan. Back in September of last month, we found out that there was a small herd of zebras that were on the loose in Maryland. My producers tell me that a group of zebras is called a dazzle. That's awesome. You can see, imagine you see a random zebra in Maryland. So they had said there were 5 owned by a private farm. Apparently there were 3 and 1 was found dead. Oh, losing a zebra is so devastating, but 2 are still on the loose. Okay, so JR, they have a plan to get the zebras loose. Officials say the owner and caretaker have taken 2 zebras from their herd that are still back where they should be, and they're keeping them in an enclosure in the center of a corral. They're gonna use those zebras and food to lure in the other zebras. They say our priority is make sure they're captured and returned to the herd. Once this is accomplished, the county's gonna look into it or whatever. That's not the important part. And people have been seeing them, by the way. And one woman called into the authorities and said, "I am not drinking. I have not had any drugs. I have zebras in my backyard." So they're gonna try to lure them in with food and other zebras. What do you think of the plan?
It sounds like a decent plan. They'll see some happy, familiar faces that they're chowing down. Like, this is a good spot to go. I like the plan. The other thing is, I just wish this was possible to be normal. You may see a deer jump across the road in Maryland. Why can't zebras? Well, zebras probably don't naturally live in that area, so they probably may not survive it. But I'm not sure what the one who died, what happened. But I kind of like a little bit of nature being around us. It sucks if you end up in a bad situation. Like, there's coyotes everywhere around here, and people walking their little dogs or letting their cats out, they get eaten. That's a downside to having to live in this area. But it's kind of cool. It's a little cool, a little terrifying when it comes to things like that. But zebras, bro, imagine getting to see zebras where you see deer.
I would lose it. When I see a rabbit in LA, I kind of freak out. I see a squirrel, it's pretty amazing. I by the way, I saw a family of raccoons, including a tiny bitty raccoon. Yeah. They went down a tree near me. Man, that one raccoon was huge.
They
get really big.
I took video of some of them. It's like possum everywhere. It's skunks. It's beautiful.
There was a skunk outside of the studio. Actually, it's amazing. It's amazing. We need more animals in our lives. Here's the thing. I don't know if anyone else thought this, but when I heard of their plan to use a zebra to lure the other zebras, I wanted to show you this video, but apparently we can't get away with it. I'm gonna put up screenshots though. This is from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Charlie found out that Sweet D, had a cat stuck in her wall. And so he decided he had a plan. He was going to punch a small hole in the wall, and he was going to lower another cat on a string into the wall. And then that cat would strike up a relationship with the cat in the wall and lure them out. I don't want to spoil it. That cat got lost in the wall, but don't worry, he had a plan. He took a third cat and he put a string on it, and he would lure that to lure the other two out. I just hope that it works better with the zebras than it did with the cats.
It's a foolproof plan, foolproof.
And made it by a fool, actually. Okay, with that, meanwhile in. Meanwhile, in the animal kingdom, still there, koalas have a bit of a problem, but science might be on the way to help them out. There's this Australian university, and scientists believe that they have now come up with a potentially effective vaccine for chlamydia for koalas. And about 400 Australian koalas have now been vaccinated against chlamydia. They're doing this trial to see if they can save some of their lives. Because apparently chlamydia has been a big issue for koalas. And I'm gonna guess, I feel like we talked about this years ago on Meanwhile In, but that was pre-vaccine. So the chlamydia epidemic in koalas has been ravaging populations since the 1990s, especially along the east and southeast Australian coasts. Some populations of koalas have infection rates of up to 100%. And considering that back in 2018, a bunch of koalas died from the wildfires, about 30%, they believe anything we can do to save them, to protect them, we need to do. And so they're starting to roll out the vaccine.
John, I honestly just have one thought, that I'm just tired of these socialist liberals out here trying to enforce vaccines on koalas who had no intention of getting it. Where's their freedom? We're just gonna stick them with the jab, and next thing you know, we're gonna be tracking them with computer chips and all this stuff. Hey, they're koalas, they just wanna have some fun. But the problem is they are a bit promiscuous, apparently, look at that guy.
I know, what's going on with the koalas?
We think that he's hanging on that tree going high. Instead, he's thinking other things.
Yeah, like I'm not judging. I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum. I'm not trying to do kink shame koalas. I'm just saying, wrap it up, buddy. Wrap it up, okay? Because you're dirty and you're killing each other with this stuff. So anyway, look, I'm glad. Turns out vaccines can be good, actually. No reports yet on anti-vax koalas. We'll see if any of them turn against it. Hashtag koalas do not comply. That's what I would say. But anyway, that is your animal news.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.